All right. Hope you guys are all doing well. As you tune in, make sure to share the live around. Make sure to drop me a comment. Let me know that you're here. If you're tuning in on the replay, skip forward to about the 2.5 minute mark. That's when we're going to be getting into the show. So you can skip forward so that you can just catch the actual recording if you're here for the podcast. Now, before we get into the show, where I always like to start, where I always want to make sure we begin, is by speaking directly to you. Because as you know, if you have tuned into this show before, and if you have not, welcome. But as you know, if you've tuned into the show before, the goal of this podcast is to help athletes reach higher levels, to help athletes achieve bigger and better things in their athletic careers through a variety of different ways. We talk about training, we talk about mindset, we talk about every piece of the puzzle when it comes to building a successful athletic career. So if you are an athlete listening to this right now, drop me a comment and let me know where you are struggling the most so we can touch on that in a future episode. And if you're an athlete listening back to this on the replay, listening back to this on the YouTube channel, whatever else it might be, make sure to send me a message on any of my social media accounts. The link to do that is in the show notes. And let me know what your biggest struggle is right now. Let me know what it is we can help you with and what it is we can talk about on future episodes to best help you move forward in your athletic career. Now, we're going to be getting into the show today. We're going to be talking about 3 benefits of strength training, for combat sports athletes. We're going to be getting into it very, very soon here. So we'll give it a couple seconds to see if a couple people tune in. And to let me grab another quick drink of water. But now let's get into it. 3 benefits of strength training for combat sports athletes. And we're going to get going here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're going to be talking about 3 benefits of strength training for combat sports athletes. Now, why is this topic important? Why did I want to bring this to you all today? So the #1 reason I wanted to bring this to you all today is because this is something that I still see so present in the fight sport world. This is something I still see so present in the combat sports industry as a whole, is that athletes don't lift weights. And athletes don't lift weights, whether it's because they're worried that they're going to get too big, whether it's they're worried that, getting strong is going to make them slow, for basically these reasons that have been long disproven by so many different scientists and people in the high performance sport world. But for some reason, so many out there still think that lifting weights is bad. So many out there still have no idea how to actually build themselves up physically and mentally as an athlete, and think that skill is the only answer to succeed. So that is why we're going to get into 3 benefits of strength training for combat sports athletes. So if you are an MMA fighter, a boxer, a Muay Thai fighter, a jiu-jitsu athlete, whatever other combat sport it might be, this is going to be a great episode for you, and you are going to want to make sure you watch all the way through or listen all the way through. So the first benefit we're going to talk about for strength training for combat sports athletes is injury resiliency. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Basically, if you're stronger, you're harder to kill. Having some trouble with one of the streams here. Oh, yeah. Okay. That one might just die. Hold up 1 second. I apologize. I think we might have it back. Either way, sorry for the quick little interruption there. But what I was saying, if you are stronger, you are harder to kill. Now, what do I mean when I say that? If you're in a fight and you are able to outmuscle your opponent, able to overpower your opponent, able to stand up when they take you down, able to take them down, even if your technique isn't perfect, you are giving yourself masses of advantages. And obviously, when I'm talking takedowns, that's not for every combat sport, but for those that are involved. And if you're not in a combat sport where takedowns are a thing, think about other areas where you are in control of your opponent's posture, in control of your opponent's movement. And the stronger you are, the easier it is to actually control those positions. Now, the other thing I want to draw your attention to with strength and injury resiliency is when you train, think about the past year of training. How often have you had a little tweak in your shoulder, a little tweak in your back, or, woken up and your knee didn't quite feel right? Now, don't get me wrong. I will not sit here and say that all injuries are preventable because, let's face it, it's fighting. Not all injuries are preventable. However, by building strength through the muscles and around the joints in the body, what you're doing is you're actually basically building all your joints suits of armor. And by building those suits of armor, by building that strength, by building that protection around those joints, it's now going to take more impact before those joints get injured. So if you've ever popped a shoulder a little bit by, hitting a bag and just hitting it at a weird angle, now if you were 20% stronger, you would have needed to hit that bag with 20% more force or 20 more times before that injury actually occurs. So by building up the strength through the body, you're building up your body's ability to take impact. And if you have been in combat sports for a little while, if your body does not have a good ability to take impact, you are in trouble. If your body does not have a good ability to take impact, you are in trouble. And what this also leads to, so just to hit the injury resiliency from a different angle, there are so many athletes out there that, on paper should be on top of the world. They've got all the skills in the world. They've been competing for a long time, this, that, the other thing, whatever it is, but they can't seem to stay healthy. How many times have you heard about those athletes that, they're so skilled, they're so good, but the bad luck of the injuries, they're just injury prone. It would be great if they could stay healthy. Any of those kind of comments that you hear about athletes so often. Now, this isn't necessarily to say that none of them lift weights. However, building strength through the body prevents those little minor tweaks and pulls and strains to a lot higher of a degree. And in turn, you're getting injured less. And if you're getting injured less, now you're not missing as much time training. And if you're not missing as much time training, your skill set is going to improve more. And if your skill set improves more, you make it to higher levels in the sport. Not only that, but your body is built to go for longer. So your body will hold up for longer. You'll be one of those guys that is able to compete into their late 30s, into their 40s, because you've built the strength, you've built the resiliency, you've built the structure that is actually able to take the impact that you're putting your body through every day. This doesn't just come from a skill set. This comes from the size and the strength you need in order to be able to do this for a long time. So, number 2, the second major benefit of strength training for combat sports is power output potential. What do I mean when I say power output potential? Now, hopefully, no one out there is going to dispute the fact that that power is important to be able to fight at a high level. Hopefully, no one out there is disputing the fact that power is important to be able to fight at a high level. If you are, you're nuts. But if you want to build up your power, if you want to improve your power, you need a base of strength to do it. Why? Because anything powerful, anything explosive takes force. And where does force come from? Strength. The stronger you are, the more you're able to actually output force. And then the more you're actually able to output force, the more we can translate that force into more explosive power, which means you're going to be able to output more while you compete without actually using as much energy. You're going to be pushing just as hard, but because you're stronger, that hard push that you're making isn't taxing your body to the same degree. And in turn, not only are you more explosive, but your conditioning improves simply by improving your strength. So that's reason number 2. That's a nice quick one. And we're going to move into reason number 3, that strength training is extremely beneficial for combat sports athletes. And reason number 3 is very simple. It's movement efficiency. Now, when you compete in combat sports, when you're training, you're taught the ways that you're supposed to move. You're taught footwork. You're taught how to turn over on your jab. You're taught all these different bits and pieces about how you're supposed to move while you fight in order to make the fight easier, in order to waste less energy. Now, where a lot of people go wrong is either when they are strength training, their focus is simply on how heavy of a weight can they lift, and their focus is not on replicating and building those movement patterns that are actually going to translate to better movement in the sport. So when it comes to strength training, one of the massive and most overlooked benefits that you can have as a combat sports athlete is improving movement efficiency. So the example I always like to go to, and obviously this is, audio, I'm not actually showing it to you, so it's a little bit more difficult to talk it through, but we're going to do our best, is a deadlift. A lot of the time when athletes are training in the gym, they learn how to do a lift in the way that's going to help them add the most weight. They learn how to do a lift in the way that's going to help them add the most weight, because in their mind, strength means I've got more weight on the bar. Now, when I teach my athletes how to deadlift, the focus is the load in the bottom position and the hip extension that they're going to actually need when they're putting power behind a punch or power behind an explosive takedown. Now, the really real thing that we need to focus on is the technique in the movement, which is going to translate to what you need in the sport. So when you're deadlifting, don't just grab the bar and rip it off the ground and try to get as much weight as possible on there. What you need to do is make sure that you're actually focused on pushing the ground away from the body and keeping your torso engaged and keeping your spine in a neutral position. Because by doing these things, you're going to be able to get more out of your hip extension, which is actually going to improve your ability to put power behind a punch. Now, I know on a podcast, it's a little more difficult to actually talk through those things and see it the same way, but I'm going to be putting out some more videos on, improving technique for sport-specific movements as well. So hopefully you guys can tune into those and you can see a little bit more what I'm talking about. Now, the big thing that I want you to focus on while you are in the gym training, again, is understanding that not all strength training is made the same. The goal of a combat sports athlete in the gym is not to powerlift. The goal of a combat sports athlete is not to set massive lifting records. Yes, we want to always continue to increase the weight because the goal is to get stronger. However, the focus needs to be on the movement patterns. The focus needs to be on making sure you're actually moving properly. And if you're actually moving properly, being able to translate the movement patterns from the strength and conditioning gym into the MMA gym or the boxing gym, whatever else it is you're doing, and from the MMA or boxing gym into the actual fight. Being able to put all these pieces together creates a stronger, more efficient athlete that can now hit harder and go for longer. And that's without even getting into the ins and outs of conditioning work as well. So to conclude this podcast, to finish this up, to wrap this up, the big thing that I want you guys to think about is, what does success in your career actually mean to you? Because I talk to a lot of athletes that say they want to reach the top. They say they want to achieve everything in their sport. They want to go far. They want to do this, do that, do whatever else. But the issue is that while they're saying all of these things, they're not backing it up with their actions. And this doesn't mean that they're not training hard. This doesn't mean that they're not pushing. This doesn't mean that they're not working. What this means is they're not showing up for everything with the same energy. They're showing up to the skills training with a great energy, with a great attitude, because that's what they actually want to do. But if you truly want to separate yourself and you truly want to reach these new heights in your career, you've got to show up for every single piece with the same energy. If you show up to the gym to practice your skills and your attitude's at 100, your energy's at 100, and you're ready to work, but you show up to the strength and conditioning gym, or you don't show up at all, but if you show up to the strength and conditioning gym and half-ass your way through these training sessions, you're leaving your success up to chance. If you're showing up to skills training and you're on point, but you're not fueling your body properly, you're not lifting weights, you're not doing recovery work, you're not doing all these other pieces of the puzzle, you're leaving your success up to chance. So I hope you learned a little something about strength and conditioning for combat sports, why it's important and why you need to start doing it. But more than anything else, what I want you to take away is understanding what success actually means to you in your career, and understanding that the higher you want to climb, the more you need to do. The more time you need to put into these other areas, the better you need to get at these other areas in order to see success at the highest level and in order to be able to stay there. So I appreciate you all tuning into the show today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.